Through a family move, I came into possession of a bunch of trunks, and they were filled with fabulous treasures. And I discovered an envelope with a folded up flyer in it. It was for a giant patent medicine infirmary, and it said Dr. Mrs. Keck. And it was filled with testimonial letters from grateful patients. In particular, I found out all these fascinating things about her life in Fairfield and the dawn of her career as an incredibly successful entrepreneur.
She was 16 years old when Rebecca Ilgenfritz and her Pennsylvania Dutch parents traveled from Ohio to Fairfield. During those days, women were in charge of maintaining the health of a family. Their mothers and grandmothers had passed down family recipes to make their own medicinal preparations and tonics so they could treat whatever illnesses came their way. In 1857, Rebecca met and married 29-year-old Fairfield mechanic merchant Jane Keck.
By the time she was starting her career, her husband had become very successful in the community here, which was a very progressive community. And then in September of 1873, the nation suffered a catastrophic financial crash. And that was the end of the line for Jane Keck's foundry business and for his farm machinery business. His wife was ready on the launch pad. She had a laboratory, she had bottled product, and she had confidence. And so this remedy was supposed to cure catarrh problems. Catarrh was out-of-control mucus from inflammation. The advertisements went in the paper and they didn't spell the name right. Instead of Keck's, it said Krex. So up until this point, it had been John C. Keck, proprietor, Keck and Hunsinger. It was the guys. But she was the brains behind the operation. And she was also the one who was the really good physician. So she began to advertise herself as Mrs. Dr. Keck. And she never again advertised the tonic with a picture of a bottle and send $1 and get a bottle of tonic. From then on, she was always advertising herself, her expertise, and her ability to cure disease. So she took a couple of cases of the tonic in crates, and she went to Burlington and got on their steamboat and went up to Dubuque. And I just have this vision of her standing on the hurricane deck of the steamship, going up to Dubuque with the wind blowing, and it was freezing cold. It was late November, and everything depends on her. Her family is going to be in the poorhouse if she fails. And not only did she succeed, she did it in such a way that she was still seen and perceived by many people as kind and generous and likable. She had a whole way of entering a town. She'd make friends with respectable local women. She'd set up an office, and then she'd come back every 2 months to that office, and the patients who had come in previously would come back for a follow-up consultation. By 1881-82, she claimed to have treated as many as 12,000 to 15,000 patients.
As praise, recognition, and substantial income came to Rebecca Keck, back in Fairfield, local doctors became bitterly opposed to her success, not to mention the fact that she was a woman succeeding in what was then thought to be a man's profession.
She continued to advertise in Oskaloosa, Ottumwa, but the Fairfield ad suddenly stopped, and she moved away. So the high point of her career towards the end of it was when the state of Iowa set up their own state board of health, and she applied for a certificate because she'd been practicing medicine there since 1868. And they said, sure, you're a doctor, and they gave her a certificate. She finally felt recognized as a real physician. Even if she'd been a man, what she did was nearly impossible. So to imagine for her to do that as a married woman with 6 children right after the Civil War in 19th century America is truly mind-boggling.